Golden Spiral Media presents The Blacklist Exposed.
We may not trust you. Heck, we may not even like you. But if you have the plague, we most certainly will sit by your side and talk your ear off. Welcome to The Blacklist Exposed. I am Agent Troy Heinrichs.
And I am Agent Aaron Peterson, and this week I am wearing a full hazmat suit in preparation for the impending 700-year-old plague that will make Ebola its dirty mistress. In the meantime, let's talk about number 74 on the Blacklist, The Front, which aired October 20th, 2014. Show notes and other intel for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed can be found at goldenspiralmedia.com/theblacklist, and we offer you a new episode every Wednesday. Until they switch days, and then that's going to switch.
Just a quick shout out to Veruca Cruz this week for creating the awesome podcast artwork for our show. If you want to check out Veruca's Blacklist or other related artwork, we'll have a link over to her Tumblr account in the show notes for this episode. Just head on over to goldenspiralmedia.com/theblacklist and look for the post for The Front.
Now, we know that Liz doesn't have Veruca behind her secret door, but what does she have? According to all of you answering the profiling question of the week, Tom was the clear runaway winner, with Jennifer being a close second, along with random items like Berlin's daughter, a secret dance club, a wine cellar, etc. As always, we thank you for all the Facebook faithful for their input. I like the idea of a secret dance club because obviously she has a doppelganger that can do a pretty sweet dance.
Well, especially if you look at what came out of the door in this week's episode, that guy totally was a bouncer, so it has to be a secret dance club.
Absolutely. And that dude is huge. And I don't know who he was, but I feel like we've seen him before. If we have, I don't remember.
Well, Alan actually said, he not necessarily said, but more a question. He wanted to know where the whole plot point of the door, Lizzy's secret, actually came from, because it was just kind of thrown in there out of left field at the end of the episode. Do we have any inkling to this plot point somewhere else that we just missed in season one, or do you think it just showed up like the rest of us?
I think it just showed up. I can't remember ever where that would have come up. And it really just came out of nowhere, just like everybody said. I do not recall a moment that a secret dance club or the wine cellar was ever mentioned previously. And even in the episode where it was introduced, it didn't happen until the very end. All they did was talk about, she had her little conversation about how I'd like to torture my husband, tie him up in the basement, stuff most wives talk about. And then at the end of the episode, boom, something is going on in that door.
Which was tied directly into Red's comment about if I only knew what you were thinking. And that has to tie directly into what is behind there, which apparently we're going to find out next week.
Well, I'm going to tell you, everybody listening, I just want you to know. They've been teasing this door for, this will be the third week now? If they don't show me what's behind that door, I'm going to gather a bunch of you. We're going to get some C4 or a crowbar, and we're going to open that door ourselves. All right? I've seen the A-Team. I know how to do it. We're going to get it done.
I can tell you what is behind that door right now.
What?
Stairs.
I saw the stair railing too. You're not that sharp. Is Tom behind the door?
He could be.
Could be. We should have found out this episode. How many people at the end of the episode, I'm really curious. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're listening. If you're one of the people that said, "Ah!" at the end of the episode, because I was one of them.
Well, I want to know why it deals specifically with that time of the evening. Like, at this time of the evening, you really shouldn't be here. What does that have to do with it?
I don't know. Apparently he's her dad. Wannabe father figure. I don't know.
Well, we actually had a follow-up email come in also from Kyle in Pittsburgh, just to kind of close the button on Linus Creel. Said, of course, Lizzy used a lot of truth during her interview with Linus. The more truth you tell, the harder it is to get caught in a lie. Besides, she's got a psychology background. She knew exactly what she was doing when talking to Linus. That on top of being a trained FBI agent, it wasn't hard for her to quickly jump up and get into the laptop and then be back to normal when Linus walks back in. Lizzy asked Aram to look into the phone numbers instead of Ressler because Aram is the tech guy. If Ressler could look up the info, Lizzy should also be able to. It's not either of their jobs, so you always give it to the tech guy to do. I feel like they do that a lot at work for both you and me, right? They just can't have stuff because we're the tech guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
No way is Cooper working with Red. Red got Cooper to come back to run the group because he knew he could work with, or perhaps more importantly, manipulate him. Red would have a hard time with Cooper's replacement. But more importantly, he really likes Mr. Vargas. I think most of us do. Really great introduction this season. Keep up the good work, guys. I'm really enjoying the podcast. Kyle.
Hey, Kyle, do you like his turtlenecks? Because that's my favorite part. Actually, I think that's why he wasn't in this episode. I think he was out buying turtlenecks. Well,
we got lots of great stuff to cover tonight. So if you want to answer our profiling question of the week for this week, which we'll give you later on in this episode, so stay tuned. You can head on over to our Facebook group. Just search for the Blacklist Exposed right there on the Facebook search bar. Join the group, join the discussion, because there's a lot of fun going on over there. And with that, let's break down this week's episode case profile.
On this week's episode, and also for those of you who have never tuned into our show before, we go over the basic plot of the episode, and then we go break down individual characters. This week's episode centered around a 700-year-old plague. Yep, we basically got Blacklist / National Treasure combination. It was pretty good. I don't know how I quite feel about this particular plot point, simply because, and I guess I should explain a little bit more. Maddox Beck is kind of a hippie leader of the front, and he throws Carrie Ann Beck, a.k.a. the Mrs., in front of a car while she's 30 weeks pregnant. By the way, what a jerk. The whole reason was because he's trying to find clues that'll lead him to this plague that is a very old plague. Therefore, our antibiotics will not work on it. Therefore, he can launch it upon the world and cause, world chaos. He's a hippie. He's just a hippie. Now, the one thing that I guess I found a little unnerving was because it's so close to this whole Ebola scare. Well, I'm not one of the people that are scared of it, but there seem to be a lot of panicky people out there. Do you think it's a little too close to home, this particular plot line, or do you think that's what makes it work?
I mean, there's certain things that networks do when situations happen, right? Whether it was Desert Storm or a Twister, and they tend to preempt their programming because of things that happen in the media. I think in this case, is it too soon? I don't know. Stuff's going to happen. So either you can do one of two things. You can either hide out about it, or you could face it head on and just open up the door and sit down and contract the virus with the best of them, just like Lizzy did.
We'll get there. Somebody needs to explain the purpose of that. I just don't understand it. We'll get there. Okay, so we've got Maddox Beck, which is probably one of the coolest villain names I've seen in a TV show in quite some time. He's the guy that's orchestrating this whole thing, and he does eventually find the clues, as well as Lizzy and Ressler do, that lead them to the actual plague. He's working with this cohort, Pepper, who's essentially his hippie girlfriend? Side girl? I don't know how you call it when he's married to Carrie Ann, but whatever she is. And, they find this plague, and I guess I want to ask you, it feels like it's a Marvel movie at some point, because I just don't understand really what his goal is other than mass murder, right?
Right. That's the kind of the altruistic thing. All of these kind of cult leaders that have existed over the years, and we can pretty much classify this guy as a cult leader, I suppose, because he has this cause of Mother Earth above all else. Is his role to stand by his cause, or is his role self-preservation? At the end of the day, clearly, this guy wasn't going to drink his own Kool-Aid, because, and that'll come up in our Red's rhetoric later on, the real question is if he was truly dedicated to his cause, would he not have fallen on his sword too? The bigger question is, who was manipulating his strings and getting him the intel he needed? Because how are you going to find that painting that has the National Treasure map to get to the place you need to go and be able to decode Cyrillic? So he has to have a network of people helping him out somewhere. And that's the part of this episode that I'd like to explore more, or I hope they explore more down the road. Because by itself, the plague really, to launch a worldwide plague to get a key out of a glass bottle is a little bit kind of weak, if you ask me.
Well, it depends on what the key opens, right?
I suppose. I mean, the key only opened up a safe deposit box last year that was underneath the lamp.
All I know is they need to stop introducing new keys as soon as possible. Find another way to open things because I'm getting a little way too many keys. Way too many keys to keep track of. I don't even remember. At some point, Ressler's going to pull out his car keys and be like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. Does that mean something? I don't know. Does that mean like a future plot? I don't understand anymore. Okay. Less keys. Less keys.
I did like the map, though. I like the National Treasure kind of throw out. And I wish they would have gone from clue to clue to clue a little bit more. I felt the first 20, 25 minutes of the episode was fast.
I felt those, it was a bit rushed.
Very rushed, yeah. They had like answers, quick answers. Like, oh, yeah, let's just get this person from the museum in here. And, oh, yeah, let's just figure out that it's clay from like 7,000 years ago. And it was a little bit too quickly put together for my taste in the first 20 minutes. However, I did like the rest of it. Years ago. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Big difference. Carry the one.
Big difference. 700.
It was old.
Yeah, it was really old. I mean, I didn't know dirt that old could still be a clue, but apparently it can. I did like the very Michael Mann moment that he has at the very beginning of the episode where he's looking at the clues and stuff, and he's in that very, very pastel blue lit with it almost feels retro song playing in the background. That was totally like a Michael Mann movie from the 80s. And I'm talking the guy who did Miami Vice.
Well, and then the audio just kind of kicked up a notch when he turned the light on. I really liked that effect as it was coming up. I believe that was The Seventh Seal by Scott Walker, if my Shazam did not fail me.
Your Shazam?
Yes.
Is that how you match it up? You just throw the Shazam on it?
Just Shazam what's playing on there, get the lyrics out. Yeah, and it actually, if you look at the lyrics for the song, it actually fit the scene really quite well.
Well, and I guess I want to go back to this plot. For me, we've talked a lot in episodes past. Man, we've talked about some shows where you could talk nonstop about the actual plot line. I thought the actual story for this episode was a little thin.
And maybe it's when you look at television seasons that have to go the 22 episode run versus that 13 episode run, we talk about having that filler episode, or there's always the episode where you have a newer writer on the team and you're kind of letting them have one crack at it. And maybe this was that one crack this season where they were just needing to fill a spot to move one more chess piece in play to get to this key, at the same time having Liz go behind the door and really toy with Mr. Sniper Guy. And I think those things had to be put in play for whatever the next thing is on the chessboard next week. Because if next week is the one you can't miss, then this is clearly the setup episode. So you have to have it be a little bit lighter for next week to be such a bigger payoff.
Well, I think part of it is also, I'm a huge, if you've never heard the show before, I'm a huge 24 fan. Love 24. And they had a plotline that was very, very similar, minus the 700-year-old virus. But it was basically some megalomaniac wants to cause mass chaos for the virus. And I guess it was probably too similar in my respect. So the way that they handled it in that show, I thought was a little bit more layered and planned out. And I felt like this plot line, maybe it's because I liked how they did it in that series. This plot line was, like you were saying, way too rushed. And I felt like it could have been done over a couple episodes, maybe even 3, spread it out instead of, I feel like, trying to jam it all in there. And therefore a lot of the story gets lost.
Yeah, it almost reminds me of General Ludd from last season, where it's not really a blacklister, it's a thing, right? The front is an organization, and we got 2 people as part of that organization. Is this the entire organization? Is everybody dead now because they all had the plague? And if they did all get cured, which we assume so based on how they explain, the planes and stopping everybody at the airport, does the front continue? Does someone else step up and take over? Or do they just disperse and be like, yeah, that guy's a crackpot?
So that's a great question. And I don't want to sound like we're poo-pooing the episode. I thought it was a good episode. It's just probably not as good as the last few. And the last few have just been fist pumping, woo, kind of episodes. So you can't ride that forever. At some point you're going to get it was good, but it wasn't, last week good. You know what I mean?
Right. And I think it's just because it's the setup, because next week's going to be so wow. You almost have to have one episode has to be an 8. Everything can't be a 10.
That's true. And that door better open. Lizzy, if you're listening, you better open that door. I will kick it in if I have to. I'm come bouncer or not. I will take that bouncer out. Let's get into the week's characters. It's kind of going to fill out the rest of what happened in this episode. Dembe is in the background again, does very little. Can we agree that this guy needs a backstory already?
If it doesn't get a backstory, he needs to do something where he's at least interacting with somebody else. So if it's not Dembe's backstory directly, it's maybe Dembe influenced somebody else's backstory, and that's how we get more Dembe in the forefront.
See, I would have liked, at the end of the episode, you see Red confronting Maddox and Pepper. Great confrontation. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But Dembe's there, and he doesn't really get to do anything. And I really would like, in these certain scenes, you know, instead of just Red doing story time, which he always does, and I love it. I love story time. Have Dembe in the background doing something as well. You know, I mean, give him some more scenery to chew, because I think you could mix those two and make these guys a formidable duo to really frighten people, or, you know, entertain them as well as frighten them at the same time. Just give him more of a presence in those scenes, because I really think he could add something more to it.
Yeah, you could even have a simple scene this week, especially where maybe Dembe is using his contacts to acquire the film projector, because he needed this one specific kind of film projector to watch his home movie that he was cutting up. Mm-hmm. And then Dembe could deliver, hey, I finally found that projector you were looking for, and just have that, you know, extra connection with Red. It'd be something small, but it would be huge at the same time with their relationship.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get some more of that. But we got other backstories with some other characters, which I thought was really interesting. And we'll get to Samara here in a minute. Glenn, Mr. DMV. I think it's officially the creepiest character yet in the show, if you ask me. And I think he's supposed to be a sympathetic character, but I'm like, you are a creepy looking little man.
I actually like Glenn. I think Glenn was probably the most interesting, because he's like, you know, get the heck off my back, dude. This stuff takes time. And then he does actually come through in the end. And I think it just proves his case in point. It's like, as much as you, Red, are like so hell bent on getting to Berlin, your fast paced, your desire, your passion, if you will, to quote Berlin, right, and to quote Red, will get you killed if you don't slow down. Give me a day to do my job. You know, you hired me because this is my job. This is what I do. Let me do my job. You do yours. Go leave me alone. Go buy a vending machine.
Which I thought that was a really nice touch, by the way. And you could tell that Red has an affection for this guy. You know, whatever their history is, it isn't like some of his other cohorts. He actually has some kind of affection for this guy.
Did he, though?
And because I think he did, because he realized that vending machine was giving him frustration, so he replaced the vending machine. He complimented him, which he normally doesn't do. You know, normally he just tells people what he needs out of them and then manipulates them. He told him, "You're the best tracker, you know, I've ever known," and da-da-da. I mean, he was just really very complimentary. I think he has a certain respect for him.
After he got what he wanted, though, the first time through, he's like, okay, tell me what happened, Glenn. What's going on? I think he was patronizing him at that, because then he comes back with you have a story for everything. Shut the hell up. Just do your job.
He called him the best tracker he's ever known the first time he meets him.
Well, yeah.
See, that's a compliment.
But he's also saying it like, you're the best tracker I know, and what the hell's your problem?
I think he meant it as a compliment.
Okay.
Jeez, so negative. I do want to say Red has hired this guy to find that girl, or the girl. A lot of people keep saying Jennifer, Jennifer, Jennifer. I completely understand why they would say Jennifer, and I even think it probably is Jennifer, his daughter, right?
Well,
we assume it's his
Naomi's daughter.
Naomi's daughter, you're right. Naomi's daughter, sorry. Now, Lizzy even refers to the girl he's chasing as his daughter. But I want to point out that Red never actually says that throughout the entire episode. He only says that girl and the girl. I went back and watched it a second time. Well, I always watch it a second time. But I went back and was specifically listening for that. He never ever says, my daughter, Naomi's daughter, Jennifer. He never says any of those three things.
That's correct. And last week, he said Jennifer numerous times in the conversations with Naomi. So
Correct.
The fact that he doesn't use Jennifer this week, and he said that the girl is important in my war with Berlin, doesn't mean that it's Jennifer. Could be Berlin's daughter, could be an informant, could be an intel play, someone he has to get in order to get to somebody else. So you don't know. You can't assume that just because Liz came in and said, why are you using Aram to go find your daughter? Because she's jumping to a conclusion. And even in that conversation with Red doesn't even acknowledge the fact that she said daughter. He kind of just shrugs it off.
Mm-hmm. And well, he lets her think that. And that's what Red does. If he thinks that, if it's something that he's okay with you knowing, he clarifies it or whatever. If it's something that he's keeping close to the vest, he just plays it off. And I think it's something worth pointing out. Could absolutely end up being his daughter, Naomi's daughter, whoever. But I really don't think it is based on that. Solely based on that.
Agree.
Now, Samar Navabi finally got a little screen time. We've talked about that before, or the last couple weeks, we felt she was kind of relegated to just a few standoff lines and that's cast off lines. That's it. This week she has a scene with Keen that was very sweet. But before we get there, she actually was very involved in the action. Would you agree?
I agree 100%. I think she was actually really great when she just kind of sat there and called out Keen. She's like, I can't believe you let her get away. And then she turns to Harold and it's like, no wonder Ebola's in the United States because this is the way you guys operate. This is ridiculous. Come on, get your act together.
I love that because obviously they live in the current environment. The series, it lives in the current environment because Ebola is a real deal. But then, after everything happens, she ends up getting infected while they're chasing Maddox down. And the thing that I thought was an issue for me personally was the scene with Keen was great. I thought it was very sweet. Both actresses did a great job. But, and you realize if you've never listened to the show, we jump back and forth. So we don't go in necessarily in order that the show went. So whatever you're wondering if we're going to talk about, I'm sure we will. But in that scene, when Keen goes in there, why? Please explain to me why. Because even though I think that's probably what current CDC protocol is to just stumble into an infection zone, I didn't understand. I get that she wanted to be strong and she wanted to be there for her teammate. But wouldn't she be far more effective on the ground looking for a cure to save her life? Or did she think if I go in there, that's going to make Red get involved?
If I go back to Kyle's comment, Aram is going to find the cure. So I don't need to have Liz find the cure in order to save all these other people. That's what Donald and Aram can be doing. So if I'm Liz and I know that I don't trust this girl anyway, and she's already on her deathbed, this is the only time I'm going to get answers that I need from her. So I'm going to get those answers because then when I step in the door and Red finds out that I'm in here, Red will find the cure. So in that case, she's thinking, number one, get the answers I want. And number two, Red will save me, so I'm not worried.
Oh, you went a third way.
Yeah, she called his bluff, basically. Say, hey, Red, got the antidote. Let's go, buddy. And he did actually end up go get it.
So you don't think for a second that she stepped in there to be a compatriot, to be the rock for Samar?
I did at first. On the first watch through, I was like, this is Lizzy. This is who Lizzy is, especially she's explaining how, she was going to adopt this baby and have this husband. And she's a woman at that point. So she's having a woman to woman heartfelt conversation. She takes off her jacket. She's in for the long haul. So on the first watch through, I initially was like, okay, she's being a teammate. She understands. It sucks. It's a 700-year-old disease that's never going to get cured. So do what you got to do, right? But then on the second watch, I'm like, why the hell would you go in the door? Because you can ask the same questions and have the same conversation from behind the glass. Because they could hear each other before she went in. So that's
what I was thinking, yeah.
So the only reason you go in is because you want intel that you can't get otherwise unless you get her confidence, and then she divulges up until the point the cure comes.
That's an interesting theory, sir. I like it. Well, time will tell. Do you think she got some information that was useful to her, Keen?
They didn't show it on screen. You don't know how long they were in that room. They had 9 hours before they were technically going to expire. So how long were they in there before Red actually came with the cure?
They were going to expire. It's a nice way to put it. Way to keep it family friendly. Appreciate it.
I watch a lot of zombie shows and people coming back to life shows. So, death that just doesn't seem like the right word anymore.
Well, nobody dies on TV, especially in shows like this. Aram is a full-fledged character who was recruited by Red at one point, but manages to do the right thing after all. And I wanna point out that I think he was totally manipulating Keen with that. He asked me to do this. Oh wait, I'm not supposed to say anything. Shh. Do you agree with me? Because I totally think he was manipulating Keen to confront Red.
I disagree. I think that he was just being a Rom, and he's got so much on his mind and so much on his plate that he was kind of like, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I let that slip. Crap. Red's going to kill me now.
Oh, I don't see it. I think he knew that she would get him out of this jam. He didn't want to help him, and he's like, I'll just float this over Keen because I think she'll take care of it. Did you think she was going to bail him out?
Only after he slipped. So I think initially he slipped, and then he's like, okay, now I need Keen to save my butt because I slipped.
Okay. Well, I don't know. You guys listening? We're divided. I'm kind of curious if you guys think he did that intentionally. I do like that they gave him more screen time finally, and he seems like he's becoming a more integral part of the group.
The question is do you think Ressler's taking a backseat because Aram is getting more screen time?
I think Ressler's taking the background because everybody's getting screen time but Ressler. That's what I think. At this point, I wish they'd go back to the pill popping.
At this point, I just wish I'd go back to getting him punched in the face because at least that was something.
All I see him do, and I love Diego. I think he does a great job in the show, and his character was really coming along. And it just feels like he just went to like they didn't know what to do with him, or at least the last few episodes. It's been, what, 3 episodes? And all he's done is run down hallways.
But I think, again, it goes back to what is the story they're trying to tell up to this winter finale or fall finale.
I know. Yeah, I agree.
He's just not in this part of the story, I guess.
I agree. But that doesn't change the fact, we have to talk about this episode. And to be fair to you guys listening, we can't just be 100% praise. We have to talk about the things in the show that, didn't work for us or why they didn't. And then get your feedback. And if you agree or disagree, or you think we're being just whiny complainers, whatever. But I think it's fair to bring that up. He's really been underused, not misused. I don't want to say misused because I don't know what their full plan is, but it feels underused to me. Now, he could have this huge arc that they've been slowly building up to, and they can't really give him too much screen time because it won't make sense when it all plays out. But I don't know. It's definitely been an issue, but I am happy Aram finally got some time.
Well, especially if they play up their partnership at the end of last season, Liz and Ressler, and they keep that going in the first episode of season 2, that they're kind of buddy-buddy. Now that she has this stalker sniper guy, granted, I love her little play with her doppelganger, if you will, and what she's doing to the sniper guy, but she could easily tell Ressler, hey, this guy is following me around, and have Ressler tail the sniper guy and just keep tabs on him that way rather than just going to Red and being like, dude, the guy's creepy, get him out of here.
I think she's concerned about Ressler's goody two-shoes attitude. And I think what she's doing is not goody two-shoes. It's not something he would be okay with. I really believe that. She's
not telling Ressler to tail Sniper Guy because if he tails Sniper Guy tails Liz, then Ressler finds out what Liz is really up to. I get you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, what do you think about this whole Samara and Aram relationship? There's obviously some, we hinted at it last week, and this week you got some full-fledged feelings. Definitely some feelings.
Feelings or just a thank you? I mean, this is a pretty traumatic thing. You get affected with the pneumonic plague, not the bubonic plague, but the pneumonic plague. No cure, trying situation. You see this guy sitting there at your bedside. Is it just a thank you for being here kind of thing? Or is it truly I know you like me, and because you stood here, you're a pretty good guy. So yeah, maybe we can do something about this.
The second one. I'm sorry. If somebody's laying by my bedside when I wake up in the hospital, they care about me. They don't just, hey man, I'm there for you. And then, do a fist bump with the little explosion. That's feelings. That's what that is.
All right. I'll send you a card next time you're in.
Hey, you can come visit. I just think if you stay the night, you and I, we obviously got a relationship building. So be ready. That's what I'm saying. We already talked about Ressler a little bit, but what about Cooper? He got a little more involved this week, leading the charge.
I'd like to see Cooper get out in the field more. Like there was some things, like if you watch Fringe, like there's a lot of time Broyles would actually come up on the scene, even though he was running the group. Broyles, who was actually Cowboy Man in season 1. He would actually come out to the scene some. I'd like to see Cooper get out into the field at least once or twice. If nothing else, come to the scene after the scenes, like at the crime scene stuff out there, just to get him out from behind the desk.
Well, last time he got in the field, he got almost killed.
Well,
like a lot of almost killed.
Yeah, but you gotta get out there, get back on that horse.
He's already lost the pimp walk. Did you notice that? I mean, he's kind of walking like last year, Cooper.
True.
Yeah. No more gimpy for him. He's got a strut back. Good for him.
He's got a heel, It's been 5 episodes now, so he's healed up. He's good. And an off season.
What about Sniper Joe and Lizzy's body double? They had a nice little scene. Well, the entire episode she's ditching him, right? And we're going to talk about all the cash she has in just a second. But she hires this body double, which I think we kind of saw coming, right? I kind of saw this coming. I wasn't that surprised by it. Is the body double? I don't. She didn't give her name, but is she affiliated with Dave Kingsley, PhD, where she was going for her doctor's appointment?
I don't know. Possibly.
Is Dave Kingsley the counselor, psychiatrist, something along those lines?
No, because the shrink for the FBI was a female originally.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Unless she was seeing some other psychologist on the side.
Well, I mean, because she said, and I think Cooper's aware of it, right? Because he told Ressler she's got an appointment. I think Cooper knows whatever Lizzy's doing. I totally believe that at this point. But I wonder if he set this up, whatever this doctor's appointment is, so she had a chance to get away.
Right. I think it's a front, not to use a play on words.
2 fronts. Maybe this whole episode wasn't really about the organization. Really, it's about what's going on with Lizzy and Cooper.
Right.
Interesting. Well, how'd you like that little dance scene? Because didn't see that coming, but I wasn't turning my TV off.
I thought that it was clever. I love that Red was on the phone with him at the same time. I thought that was really genius. But like we talked about, back in the season opener, strong women characters and all of that jazz, the turnaround at the end, didn't need the turnaround at the end. Got the point, could have just closed the drapes and left it at that.
Yep. Same. I agree 100%. Yep.
But
as much as
great scene, though. Great scene. Love the concept. Love the play back and forth. I thought for sure he was going to come across the way at it for a moment until then. Of course, she wrote "bite me" on the window. I thought that was great, but that's where it needed to end on that side. Just stop it there.
Yep. As soon as the shades closed, I mean, you could have given away that it was the double at another way because you already did. You showed Lizzy sitting in a chair in front of the locked door.
Right.
So, yeah. Naomi's absent this week. Okay. You know she's coming back. She's not gone. There's no way she's gone. Now, Keen. Now we get to the big 2, Keen and Red. Now, Keen apparently has a sudden influx of cash. I want to talk about that before we move on, because she pays the body double to escape the sniper and then says, you do this again next week and I'll double it. Where's she getting all the money?
That's the secret.
What secret?
She robbed Monarch.
She's got a lot of secrets.
Yeah, she robbed Monarch Douglas and she's keeping it down in the bottom of the stairs behind the door.
I actually think that she did take some of the money. I do think that. I think she kept some of the money. I don't know if Cooper's aware of it or not, but there's too much money for that not to be the case.
Well, I mean, if you think about it logically, if the super secret bank can be hacked, then I'm definitely keeping my dollar bills in my mattress.
Okay. Is that what you really think, though, in terms of where she got this money, or you just think, she's pulled out of savings?
I still say, in the back of my mind, in the little flashbacks with her story this week, how she was like thinking about Tom and I wish I had the husband. And she's remembering the good things about Tom. And they're showing us specifically the good things about Tom. And then she looks at the baby at the end of the episode when she's in the hallway. And I don't know if she's thinking, I want a baby, I want to be a mom, or if she's like, I want to be a wife and a mom with Tom. So I still go back to whatever Tom said at the end of season 1 when he slunk down. They're working together, and Tom and his organization is giving her the money.
All right. I'll buy that. It's just an honest question. I just wanted your take on it. I believe Monarch Douglas, whichever way that those words went, It was from that bank, and I think when she transferred the money back to Berlin, she funneled some aside just for whatever this operation was. I think she thought she'd need it for something. Now, she offers to basically sacrifice her life for Samar. We kind of talk about that a little bit. And I talked about how it didn't really make any sense. Outside of that portion of the episode, what else did Keen go through this episode?
Well, I really liked that conversation because when she was questioning Red about, you shouldn't be looking for your daughter. We'll look for your daughter. You don't need to be looking for your daughter. And Red's like, are you jealous? And then she sits with Samar and she's like, I don't know what it is, but the guy drives me nuts. And then he throws this thing in my face. And why am I jealous? And she starts to question it. And I think that shows the Red manipulation. Like, she may not have been jealous originally, but now that Red said that, now she's thinking about it. So
but do you think she really thinks that? Because, I mean, she's talking to Samar, and you said last week that you thought Samar is definitely on Red's payroll. So wouldn't that seem the wrong person to share that with, unless you're trying to manipulate her too?
Well, maybe that was her play. She wanted to share that to manipulate her so it would get back to Red and saying, okay, yes, I am concerned about it. And then maybe Red will give out some other piece of information to calm her down. So
going back to the Red thing, why do you think that he doesn't want to let Sniper Joe go? Really, why do you think that? Why do you think that?
Because at the end of the day, he needs Liz. Why? No clue. Still a big question, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's for the war, whether it's because it's his daughter, whether it's because he just swore to protect her because him and Sam are blood brothers. At the end of the day, he needs Liz. So for him, he'll do whatever he needs to protect her, period. Do
you think Keen got a little lost in this episode? Or do you think, because here's what I got out of the front. This, like you were talking about earlier, was definitely a filler episode. It's generally what they're known as in the TV industry. When you have a big, long, ongoing plot or story, and you need to fill some time to get you to the final episodes, or at least the climax of whatever that storyline is, you dump in what's called filler episodes. And those filler episodes are basic plots that keep the story in play, but aren't really as detailed as other episodes. And that's what this felt like to me. And because of that, Keen did a lot of looking out windows, looking, oddly at doors, flipping keys around, having random conversations about really nothing, getting involved in things that she normally wouldn't get involved with, like Ram. To me, this felt like a filler episode, I guess. And I felt like her character was kind of wasn't as relevant as she normally is.
Yeah, I mean, so many of the other characters had things in this episode, and maybe that's what it is. The cast is so good, right, in what they do. And in order to get the cast to play their roles and do what they need to do, I mean, whoever would have expected Red to show up and just be like, hey, Ram, what's going on? You want to get lunch? Right in his office, right? Yeah. When has Red ever come to the post office voluntarily, especially after the Ansel Garrick situation? So I thought that was a really interesting twist, that he needed Aram to go find this person, even though Glenn was already on the case. So what was that all about? Did he not think Glenn was going to get it? Or did he need Aram to do it to divert Aram's attention to something else because he needed the focus shifted for some other purpose?
I think one of those two people was manipulated in the situation. I either believe Aram, which that's my take on it, was that Aram is the one manipulated because he knew Lizzy would get him out of it, or Red wants Lizzy to know he's looking for her. Those are the only two options I can think of.
What about last week where it's, oh yes, Elizabeth, I trust you implicitly?
I don't believe that.
Do you think Aram is on Red's payroll?
No, I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that at all. I do not think he was malicious in any way. I think what it was is that he was scared. He didn't want to work for Red. He made that implication that the other person that helped you, what happened to them? Thinking that he did something horrible. I think he just wanted Lizzy to get him out of it. He doesn't want to help Red because he knows bad things happen to people that get involved. And he's a very, very smart guy. Very smart guy. And that's really what I think his character was thinking. I think was planting a bug, not being a full-blown manipulator like everybody else in the show, but planting a bug that maybe Lizzy can help me. Maybe she can get me out of this.
All right. I'll buy it.
That's what I was thinking. Well, next week's going to be a huge Keen episode. So maybe she wasn't extremely prominent in this episode, but next week it's going to be all Keen. As long as she opens that stupid door. Red. Oh, Red's always last. We always do Red last. For me, it seemed like he was losing a bit of his grip this episode. I think he felt a little, he seemed stressed. He seemed concerned. He seemed less calm about the situation. He seemed more impulsive almost in several situations that happened throughout the episode. Do you think whatever it is in terms of him getting to that girl was really affecting him? Like he was worried time was running out.
I don't think, if we're focusing on just the girl portion of Red's story this week, I don't think he's acting any more impulsively than he has been. Even Mr. Kaplan called it out. It's like, you got this war with Berlin. It's going to kill you. You're going at full tilt. You got to slow down. So if anything, I thought he was slower, more methodical in way he was searching for whatever he was searching for. But at the same time, like you said, stressed, worried. He wouldn't have grilled Glenn if it wasn't going fast enough for his liking. But at the same time, he didn't like push Aram. He didn't do it like when he was sitting there, that one episode where Aram had to give him the information or crack the bank or whatever it was while he cleaned his gun, put the gun back together. I mean, that seems impatient. That's, I'm going to kill you if you don't do this now. He wasn't like that. So I don't think it's that impatient for him in this episode. At the same time, I think the front portion of his episode, especially when he was like talking to Aram on the phone, it's like, well, he's off the grid. I can't find him. And it's like, well, there you have it. He's getting the information he needs so that he can do his dirty double cross at the end to get the key. The question then becomes, what is the key in this grand scheme of things? And did he know the key was there all along? He just needed to find the hideout.
Yeah, well, it didn't. When he actually needed to find it, it didn't seem like it was very hard for him to find. Right? I mean, he found it rather quickly.
Right.
Within 9 hours, is according to the timetable we're given, right?
And the question, this just popped into my head. When he's saying, I need to find the girl, is the girl the little rabbit romping around in the woods because he needed to find the girl to get the key to get to Berlin in his war, and the little scene at the end of the episode was something totally different.
You mean like the girl he's watching is not the girl in question?
Correct.
Well, that would be misleading, wouldn't it?
Well, at the end, he said, it's funny because I found you because I needed to find her, and you have where I want. Where is it? He like questions her directly. So clearly, Red knows her from something. And then I go back to the whole that girl, and could she have been that girl?
Pepper or the rabbit?
The rabbit, or Pepper, whatever her name is, yeah.
Pepper.
Yeah, Pepper.
Pepper Potts.
Right.
Does that make it easier? Because apparently this dude's a Marvel villain, so you might as well just go ahead and call her Pepper Potts.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know.
You're confusing the crap out of me. I don't even know what to think anymore. I think I'm going to have to go watch the show again. What did you think about the mass suicide?
The cult happens, expected.
Seems a little drastic when you're just mad about the environment, doesn't it?
I don't know. People are crazy out there. He was going to be out in the North Sea in his raft, bouncing up against the water with all the flame and oil and stuff falling on his head. I mean, that's pretty radical. There's no way, number one, I'm getting in the North Sea in a raft. I saw Titanic. You freeze to death out there.
I thought hippies they just wanted hugs. I didn't think they wanted to destroy the world. They
didn't want to destroy the world. They wanted to destroy the people that were destroying the world. We need to kill humans because humans are causing our planet to die.
Well, it's probably true, but still, it seemed a little goofy. They didn't actually show what happened. We were led to assume that it was Red and Dembe that killed them, right?
No, we were led to assume that they committed suicide before they could get caught. The question is did Red make it look like a suicide?
Yeah, see, I saw it as it was murder, and it was made to look like a suicide.
That's what I saw.
Yeah. I don't think you don't go through the trouble of coming up with a cure to an impending virus, the guy comes and gets whatever he needs from you and then leaves, and then you kill yourself. You formulate another plan, you go after him. I absolutely think he killed him.
Totally.
Yep. Now, any thoughts or suggestions or curiosities or opinions, however you want to word it? Do you have anything about this new key? Anything?
It looks old. Maybe not 700 years old, but it looks old. Yeah. It looks like a skeleton key. Could open anything. It doesn't look like a safe. It doesn't look like a safe deposit box key. It looks like a trunk, like one of those old 1900s series like trunks that you'd have up in an attic somewhere.
I was thinking like an old castle door or something. I mean, an old some door in some old building, some very, very old building. That's what I got out of it. I think it's a key to a very old building.
The more national treasure in our future.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's some more clues. Oh, if Nicolas Cage pops up in that mid-season finale, I am going to scream and squeal at the same time. Oh, man, that's fantastic. Well, any other points on this episode?
No, I think we're good. It was, like you said, it was interesting. I liked the concept. It moved along maybe a little too quickly in some spots. Loved Aram in this episode. I thought he really got to shine. Keep that up. I think that's good, but I'd like to see more Ressler and Cooper start to come up here before we take the break.
Oh, me too. Now, you would think we are done. We are not done, my friends. There is more. But before we head over to Red's Rhetoric, which has become a very popular part of our show, we want to remind you to check us out on our other shows. I do a weekly film and TV podcast known as The Hollywood Outsider. That's available at thehollywoodoutsiders.com. And Troy is currently covering season 2 of Resurrection with Resurrection Revealed, which is available at resurrectionrevealed.com. So definitely check out those 2 shows. Now, let's move on to this week's Red's Rhetoric.
Now, Naomi loves dogs, and you know what? Most of us do. So City Dogs is our clear winner for last week's Red's Rhetoric. Now, our first nomination this week revolves around just how bad life at the DMV can be, especially when the vending machine is broken.
You know what? I don't have time. And yet you've had me waiting out there for over 45 minutes. Do you know the vending machine is broken? It's as if you enjoy making people miserable.
I work at the DMV.
If you can't do this, I need to find someone who can. Everything rests on finding the girl.
I understand, and I'm trying my best, but you didn't give me much to go on, and I've had some...
How bad?
Got into her bones. They bombarded her with chemo. We've tried everything, the pills and the diets, biofeedback, music therapy, the flaxseed diet.
Flaxseed?
Part of the Budwig protocol.
I don't have time for this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Has Mom's illness cramped your busy schedule?
Every time you can't deliver, you do this. These cockamamie stories.
My mother is dying.
Yes, and your brother-in-law had Legionnaire's disease, and your house was flooded, and I'm still no closer to finding the girl.
Get out!
You're the most gifted tracker I know, Glenn, but your mouth runs like a scalded dog. I don't know why you're mad at me. You're the one who came up short.
Our second nomination deals directly with what happens when you are once idolized by Red and then get busted for your lack of follow-through.
You two out here playing grab ass in the woods just smacks of something biblical.
Who the hell are you?
I'm the snake in the grass. I was a big fan of yours at one time. I remember you on that little inflatable boat in the North Sea going up against that oil platform, huge waves tossing you up against the pilings, fire hoses and steel oil drums raining down from above. My God, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Then I had the good fortune of sharing a cell in a prison outside Sochi with an associate of yours, Yevgeny Bushkin. Big bear of a man, 150 kilos on an empty belly. As I remember it, Yevgeny went on hunger strike to protest some oil pipeline that threatened a vital something or other. You probably remember better than I. But the point is, the old boy didn't eat for 74 days. Imagine that. I wouldn't have the discipline. My weakness is sausage and peppers. But Yevgeny, He did it. Wasted away like Christ on the cross. Dying for a cause. Your cause. And I remember thinking that the only men I've known that have people who are willing to die for their cause are either saints or megalomaniacs. And you are no saint.
Which was your favorite line from Red this week? Tweet us at the Blacklist GSM with hashtag Red Short if you loved Glenn and the DMV, or tweet hashtag Red Key if you like his closing scene with Maddox and his groupie.
Now we're on Special Agent Intel. First one comes from Tandy. It says, here's my not-so-original crackpot theory. A. Red is female to male transgender. We did allude to that. We talked about that a little bit, right? We thought that, or you think that's maybe a possibility.
That was one of the theories from season 1, which is that B, Tandy says he's Lizzy's mom, gave birth to her before the sex change and can therefore easily say, no, I am not your father.
We'll find out. I took a deep breath over that one. B, he is Lizzy's mom, gave birth to her before his sex change, and he's really stuck on the sex change thing, and can therefore easily say no each time Lizzy asks if he's her father. I like that, actually. If you're going to have a sex change, that would be a cool way to do it, because nobody would guess it. C, Red was in a lesbian relationship with Naomi, even marrying her before gay marriages were legal. Wow, we got a whole political thing going now. They both gave birth with donated sperm, maybe at the same time, making Lizzy and Jennifer twins. This is why Naomi specifically refers to Jennifer as her daughter and not our daughter to Red.
That's key language.
Whoa.
I don't know if I would buy into the, surrogate, adopted, whatever you want to believe on this, but it is key language that Naomi said her daughter, not our daughter, consistently.
Oh, mind is getting blown, let me tell you. D, when Naomi mentioned that Red knows women really well, it's because Red was born female. You are convinced. You are convinced Red was a female. He's got a really husky voice for being a former woman, right?
Well, there is enough going on that you could put this theory together and have it be plausible, right? We're not saying, confirmed or busted, Mythbuster style. We're saying plausible.
It seems a little too soap opera to me. It seems like General Hospital.
But then how do you explain Mr. Kaplan?
I can't. That's why it still works. I didn't say it wasn't understandable or possible. I just said it sounds like a soap opera. There's plenty of TV shows that have used some soap opera plot lines. Trust me.
Well, Tandy even asked that question. Yeah, she says, I suspect that Mr. Kaplan is a male to female transgender and kept the name after the change for professional reasons.
I agree with that.
Totally similar, right? You get married to your spouse keeps their last name just because of the professional thing. Totally buy it.
Also says, I think that Red wants to use Liz in some sort of plot to blackmail Jennifer into doing something. I think there's probably something there to that. And I don't believe that Tom is locked behind the door. I think there are records on Red that Lizzy got from somewhere.
It's a pretty stronghold way to keep a file cabinet safe.
That's a big dude. That'll keep it safe. Robert John Davenport says, Aaron, 2 quick points. One, you are forgetting that Lizzy, this is based on what we were talking about last week. You are forgetting that Lizzy is a psychologist and able to identify the purpose of the test after reading it for about a minute. 2, the doctor was more interested in proving that there was a way to identify and treat these ticking time bomb people. And that was the whole focus of the study. He was not as concerned with how to weaponize them. Yes, I absolutely agree with what you're saying. My concerns from last week was, what was the purpose of the program to begin with? Because I see no benefit to the government for a study like this. Basically, we can absolutely just destroy people. Well, that doesn't seem like a hard theory to prove. I think it's been proven over and over and over. So I don't really get what the government benefit was, I guess was my point. But I concede your points. They're very good points.
Well, I love the feedback. I especially love the crackpot theories. If you guys have a crackpot theory of your own, we definitely want to hear from you. But more importantly, we want everybody to hear from you by going out to iTunes, go ahead and leave a 5-star written review out there for the Blacklist Exposed. Just go to goldenspiralmedia.com/iTunes. Find the Blacklist Exposed podcast, leave a review there. More importantly, even in the review, leave a review for some of these people that are giving their theories, because the fans want to hear that they're adding to the show as well, because without the fans, the show just isn't the same.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to conclude this episode. Be sure to follow us on Twitter this season at the Blacklist GSM. We're live tweeting during the East Coast feed, and we will use the show's hashtag, The Blacklist. We also have a Facebook group. Just search for The Blacklist Exposed and join us for the fun. Also, the website will have all the episode intel and analysis, as well as links to subscribe to the feed in iTunes and Stitcher. That way, you don't miss an episode. Visit goldenspiralmedia.com/the blacklist for details.
And the intel is what we want from all of you, so you can give us a call at +1 304 837 2278. We know the phone's kind of old school, but some people, that's all you got. So if you want to give us a call, feel free. We'll play it right here on the podcast. Or if talking on the phone's not your thing, just go on over to goldenspiralmedia.com/feedback. You can submit your intel in writing or actually record your voice using our send voicemail button right there on the feedback page.
And Troy, what is our question of the week?
Our profiling question of the week this week is, who is, quote unquote, the girl, and what is the key for?
Oof. As you leave your feedback, be sure to mention the Blacklist Exposed, and a big thank you for listening this week. Don't forget to answer that profiling question of the week, which was, once again, Troy, what was it once more time?
Who is, quote unquote, the girl, and what is the key for? Or maybe even better yet, the girl is the key to the entire mystery.
Don't start confusing me already.
Until next time, I am Agent Troy Heinrichs. That's at Troy Heinrichs on Twitter. And again, if you're a fan of Resurrection, head on over to resurrectionrevealed.com for that other podcast.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can also find me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, available at thehollywoodoutsiders.com. I'm on Twitter at H_outsider. And be sure to come back next time as we chat about the Mombasa cartel. In the meantime, make sure to keep yourself off of
The Blacklist. The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production, copyright 2014. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.